Hi, welcome everybody to this Ask the Expert session on body acceptance after cancer with Sarah Parker. Hi Sarah, thank you for joining us today. I wonder if you could tell us a bit about your own background and interest in this topic.
Certainly, thank you for having me. It's lovely to be here. So my background is, my foreground right now is I'm a therapist, I'm a counsellor, an EMDR therapist, and a coach. But actually that all came about after a 15-year history of anorexia nervosa. So what prompted me to move away from podiatry, which was my original career, into therapy work was really my experience of NHS treatment and recovery from an eating disorder. And I think that for me, what was central to that change and that recovery was really learning about who I am and how I am beyond the anorexia. And I guess that kind of seems to me, I'm fortunate that I've never experienced cancer personally, but I think that the changes we go through illness, the changes our body goes through illness, through mental health problems, I think can be really hard to be with and hard to accept. And so I guess my interest is in supporting anybody that has a difficult relationship with food and their body. So, you know, I think it's understandable that people have a difficult relationship with their body when it's changed in a way beyond perhaps their control and beyond their choice.
Okay, thanks very much for that, Sarah. We'll come to the first of our three questions for today. Although our mums are grateful for their cancer treatments, often they describe difficulties accepting how they now look and struggle to look at themselves in the mirror or touch their bodies when living with or post-treatment of their cancer. Do you have any thoughts on how to deal with that?
You know, the word that jumps out in that question is acceptance. And I think when we think about acceptance, often it's a word that we talk a lot about. And people, I think, assume that acceptance means loving our bodies again, getting used to our bodies as they are and thinking, well, everything's brilliant now. And when we struggle to do that, we feel like we're falling short, or it induces some sense of failure or shame. But I think it's really important to think about what acceptance is, what it means to us, but what we're talking about it in terms of a therapeutic acceptance is simply being with. And if we think about it, our relationship with our body, it's actually no different from any other relationship with any other human that we might have. And so when I think about my relationship with my husband, he sometimes does my treeing. I don't really like him very much. Does it mean I stop accepting him or stop loving him or want him to be different? No, it just means in that moment I've got some thoughts and feelings that mean I don't really want to be with you. And I think that when we think that when our bodies change, we've always got to love them and think they're amazing, I think we're putting massive pressure on ourselves. And so I think my message around acceptance is about, you don't always have to like, you don't even always have to love, because there will be times where you have thoughts going on that say, I can't love this, I can't like this, I hate what I see. But it's being with all of that, not trying to change it, not trying to say, right, I'm going to change that I hate my body into I love it, because that's a big leap. But it's gently being curious about, okay, what can I maybe see that I can value, that I can be appreciative of? And if I can't, I'm just going to be in that space right now, and I'm going to know that my body's here, know that I'm in my body, know that I'm with it, and know that this is just a moment in time where actually, and there might be lots of moments in time, but actually I can't feel love. I can't feel that I'm grateful. I can't feel any of that stuff. But we can still love ourselves for not being able to love our bodies. I think it's really accepting whatever shows up in us and knowing that there's no rules for acceptance. There's no rules for our body other than what our minds might create. A body should look like this, or a body should look like that. And that will come in from society, and societal kind of expectations of our bodies will play a part in all of our relationships, because it just does. It's out there and it's in our faces. But actually what we can learn to do is say, okay, society can hold that there and they can expect that of my body. But you know what? Society doesn't talk about a body and looking perfect after cancer. What can I see in my body? What can I appreciate or accept or be within my body that might be different from my wishes, society's wishes, people around me's wishes? But actually it's as it is, and how can I learn to be with this body as it is? Because, you know, we often talk in terms of mindfulness. Struggle doesn't come from the change in your body. Struggle comes from trying to change the change in your body. So it's that lack of acceptance that creates struggle. When we start to be with what is, we're not fighting what is anymore. And then the struggle starts to reduce a bit. Guess what also occurs to me is the nature of the human mind that loves comparisons. And I think that when we think about our little caveman brains, cavemen needed to compare because they needed to know that there were some guys that weren't as fit as them, weren't as old as young as them, that they could run faster. Because if there were, whatever there was, dinosaurs, I don't think cavemen shared the earth with dinosaurs. My history is not as good as my therapeutic interest. But if there was some bison or buffalo or tigers chasing them, we needed to be able to compare in order to say, I can survive this because there'll be somebody else that they will catch first. So it's innate in humans that we compare. But the comparisons that we tend to make now are not anywhere near as helpful as the comparisons that cavemen made, because we make comparisons that are almost pointless in terms of our survival, but have meaning in terms of our emotional attachment to our bodies and to others. So when we start to compare, we know that we're losing being in this present moment. We're going to some other time and place, and well, they look like that, or I used to look like that, and my body used to do that. And I would say gently bring yourself back to the here and now, because in this moment, what we have is what we have. And if we don't have a memory of past moments or future wishes, if we only have now, well, then we learn to be with what is, rather than wish it were different. Does that make sense? So those comparisons can really get in the way of us being with what is. Now, that isn't a criticism, because as I say, we are designed to make comparisons because it used to keep us alive, but not so much now. So know those comparisons will be there, but just if you can, check them out. Check out what's going on. And when you notice yourself making those comparisons, try and come back to, okay, those comparisons won't serve me, because my body is changed, my body is different, and it will bring a lot of sadness if I spend my time in that past time. And I think there's nothing wrong with that sadness. I think there's an important process in perhaps sometimes mourning what we lost before cancer, before anything, you know. I think with any change of losing something significant, and I think when we experience cancer, we lose a way of being in life that doesn't live in that knowing that we've had cancer. So we never go back to who we were, but we can develop a sense of who we are now, beyond the treatment, beyond the changes that we've gone through, and start to think, okay, where am I now? What can I do with what I have? And I think the other thing to say is and I think this can be really hard, but our bodies are always doing their very best to try and survive for us. Now, that doesn't mean to say clearly things don't go wrong and we develop illnesses and things change. But actually, our bodies don't have an agenda. Bodies are not saying, oh, I'll trip her up with this or I'll go wrong with this. Bodies are always, when you see if you cut your skin, it will do its best to heal without much intervention from us. When we break a bone, we might hold it still so it can knit together carefully and in the right way, but the body heals itself. We just do the add-on bits to enable it to do that well. So the body's always working towards being the best it can. Now, it will have limitations. It will have limitations, particularly after cancer and cancer treatment. But it's knowing that our bodies don't stop wanting to be their best. They just maybe have some different capabilities in doing that. And maybe if we can, because I know for me, and of course it was different, but during my anorexia, I used to think my body was just working against me. It just wanted to get fat and make me look ridiculous or make me, and it felt like a personal battle. And what was really important in that was to be able to say, okay, I may not be best friends with my body right now, but maybe I can call the truth on this war. Maybe I don't have to fight anymore. And I might not like what I'm next to, what I'm with, but the fighting won't make me like it anymore. You know, so I can call that truth and learn to be with, even if at this moment in time, I can't learn to love and trust yet.
Thank you, that's very helpful.